What is up, my Gaggle of Geeks? Welcome to a quick live review. Maybe it'll be quick, depends on what we're going to do today. We're going to be talking about Tiger King. I briefly talked about this last night, saying what the fuck was I watching? I was like 3 episodes in, finished all 7, and we've got a lot to talk about. And by we, I mean me and another guest that I have on. Jim Stevens, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Woohoo!
I love talking about tigers and kings. So Tiger Kings, and I can't believe the backstory. I can't wait till we talk about this anyways.
I gotta ask, when did you know about this guy before the documentary?
So I didn't realize it until later when they showed
it was last week tonight?
But I think I even saw it before that. Like I remember as clear as day as him running for president, and it might have been Oliver or whatever. But that his whole I'm gay and I got guns and tigers. I remember that promo so vividly that I'm like, that's Joe Exotic, and it clicked.
When he's like, I am gay. I do have warrants out for my arrest. Like. And you don't know the story. It was crazy.
Oklahoma or whatever it was.
Did somebody just look at that Last Week Tonight clip and go, hey, this is exactly what we need to make a Netflix series about? Or, like, I don't know even how this got started, but it's crazy. We've talked about everything for the first hour before even jumping into this. I want to actually, before jumping into the review, talk about you a little bit and have people learn a little bit about your backstory, where you came from, and just why you love movies.
I've been doing since I was a little kid. That's about the only thing I was really good at. I wasn't good at. I mean, I was pretty good at sports. I was pretty good at that, but I had a big mouth. I was a state champion in high school. Got a full ride scholarship in drama to go to college, and started making films. It just the one thing that I just seemed to come easy for me was making films. I got to beat Edgar Allan Poe, and other people are like, You're not supposed to just go step on a movie set and like they gave me the part. I got 2-3 years of Arctic Circle commercials that just ended a couple of years ago, and I didn't even want to go to the first audition, and they ended up signing me to some stupid contract, and they're all like, "What brought you here?" I brought one of my students. But it's the one thing that just for some reason I've been really good at, and I've been lucky. I come from the Stevens Brothers clan. I got an older brother, David, younger brother Nate, who both do a lot more acting than I do, and I've gotten more behind in the directing and the writing and the producing part of it. Had a class for 10 years called Actors Anonymous, or AA, which was very fitting.
Very clever.
Yeah, and then just recently blew it all up, started over, and now I'm starting back from my roots, taking my iPhone, no lights, and my little brother, and just filming whatever comes into our heads, and that's basically what I'm doing now. So came from doing it my whole life to been real lucky. I've worked with Adam Sandler, Anthony Hopkins, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Fucking stop. Pause. What? Okay. So let's go through the list again. In which films, and what is the craziest story of that? Holy shit.
Punch Drunk Love. Have you seen Punch Drunk Love? It's on HBO right now. The 4 brothers from Provo. That's me and my real brothers.
Oh.
Yeah. The phone sex operator's a really good personal friend of ours, and originally it was supposed to be John C. Reilly and Philip Seymour Hoffman as the Provo brothers, and Sean Penn was supposed to be Philip Seymour Hoffman's part. It shuffled. All of a sudden, Paul's looking for brothers from Provo. The phone sex operator goes, "You want brothers from Provo? I know 4 blonde brothers from Provo." Next thing we know, we're sending in tapes. They fly us out. Everything that we're wearing in that movie was what we showed up to meet Paul Thomas Anderson. They took the clothes off of us and said, "Yep, this is what we want."
That is awesome.
Then in the next 5 months we filmed.
You got to talk with Adam Sandler, meet him, or
a lot.
Okay, so what is he? He seems like he's pretty easygoing.
One of the coolest dudes ever. Like,
that's awesome.
I meet a lot of movie stars that are D-bags, that are not good people, and they don't just like Steven Seagal is not a good person.
Mm.
Adam Sandler's a good dude, and anytime anybody wants to talk, they don't know what he has to put up with. A good dude, And on top of it, my nephew at the time was running for class president, made him a tape for Payson Elementary class president that he sent off for nephew for no reason, signed all autographs for everyone. He was doing Mr. Deeds at the same time, so he was double doing movies because of the writer strike that was coming up. Mm-hmm. Every night he'd empty his beer fridge and he goes, "For the boys, for the boys."
That's awesome.
He knew we'd drink them.
Yeah.
But he was awesome. Philip Seymour Hoffman, we spent the most time with. And
oh my God.
If anyone knows Paul Thomas Anderson, he will reshoot, overshoot, go back. And we were actually shot for 4 or 5 months, and everything we did 2 or 3 times. And he used to do 3-hour movies, and we had enough content for that. Got whittled down to the 90 minutes. I get a lot of close-ups. I don't say anything. Best close-ups I've ever been in. But Philip Seymour Hoffman didn't talk to us. Very cold. I thought he was an ass.
Yeah.
4 months, never talked to us. He rapped before we did. He comes over to our lunch table, and he's like this jolly dude going, "Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. That was so much great. Like when I come in for Sundance." And I figured out that because our characters didn't like each other, he wasn't going to like us. And I learned so much about acting right then.
Wow.
And since then, he would always call. He'd come from Sundance. He'd check in. Like we heard from him a couple months before. He, sweet guy. And it was like, the weirdest thing in the world, Action Jackson. You know who that is?
Mm-mm.
Carl Weathers.
Oh, well, start with Carl Weathers.
A good friend of Adam
start
Sandler.
with Apollo Creed if we're gonna do anything with.
No. That's how we started with him.
Or
like, Action Jackson. It's like all the movies I've done. You remember Action Jackson?
Okay. That is so cool.
Just weird. Luis Guzman, and we're just sitting there getting paid to be ourselves. Like the shirt I was wearing. If anyone noticed anything about Extra Large Store. That's the Beastie Boys clothing company. Well, the shirt I was wearing is an out-of-date shirt from the Beastie Boys company. And so my stunt double, they needed an extra large shirt. So they went and had extra large print 1 of 1, my shirt that my stunt double wore that now is up in my closet. So I have one that's out of date that no one else has, plus the one that they had to reprint just for the movie.
Jeez.
And I got to keep that one too.
Oh my God. Well,
Paul was really cool. He was dating Fiona Apple at the time. Fiona Apple was really cool. That was unreal. And then the movie, I wouldn't want to say bombed, but I don't think people really got it, especially for what Paul does.
Yeah.
But since then, it's the only movie in Paul Thomas Anderson's library that's got a Criterion accolade on it.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, it's one of the first movies that Adam Sandler was taken seriously too. Like you're a part of history, man. Like you're not in like one of the later Chuck and Larry films. You're in an important part of his acting career too. That's fucking
and
awesome.
When people are like, "Oh, I didn't like that movie," I'm like, "It's okay. That's okay."
It's the experience that was more interesting.
He got nominated for a Golden Globe for that one. He didn't for Uncut Gems, which he was robbed, by the way.
I was gonna ask, did you feel a personal stake in it when he didn't get nominated? Okay,
oh, and
nice.
Don't get me wrong, I was not a Robert Pattinson fan. Went back and saw what the Safdie brothers did with Robert Pattinson in Uncut Gem, or no, I'm sorry, Good Time.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen that movie,
oh no, it's great.
On. Right now, you can go watch it on.
It's on
I think
Netflix.
Hulu. No, Netflix. That's right. It just moved over to Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. I've never seen filmmakers who invoke panic, and they're like, "What do you mean by invoking panic?" I'm like, "Well, by the music and the way they shoot and the loud. These aren't good people, and good things don't happen to them, but you find yourself invested." I had a panic attack after watching Uncut Gems, a full-on panic attack. And other people I know had the same things. Other people I hate that movie. I'm like, that's fine, but to invoke panic, what other filmmakers could you tell me that's their style? Is to invoke panic in you.
That's a good
not
question.
Fear, not anger, panic.
I think David Fincher can get that, but he can get there, but most of the time he's more like, let's unsettle you more than anything. Pure panic. I mean, shit, Michael Bay.
Safdie brothers. And this year's Oscars really made me, it really upset me. There was enough, because you can nominate up to 10 Best Pictures, and they did 9. And they played it so safe, and I thought they could have put in The Lighthouse. They could have put in Peanut Butter Falcon.
Yeah.
They could have put in, all these other ones. Just even though they wasn't going to win, just stick it in there.
Just make it's like you're not doing it for any type of, you're not trying to do something to say, oh, we're doing it just because it's the farewell and it's Asian and we want to make sure that they're represented.
Right.
They were great films. Like they
Yes,
were
they
great
were.
films that people just sat on. And
If you
that's
didn't
the biggest
like
crime.
Peanut Butter Falcon, something's wrong with you.
Also, yeah, Peanut Butter Falcon, is that on Amazon Prime? I know The Farewell just got on it, and Honey Boy is
Honey
on that
Boy
now
is.
as well. But I don't know if Peanut
Honey
Butter...
Boy
You could probably
is.
rent it. You can rent anything on Amazon.
Dude, the art of self-defense with Jesse Eisenberg is freaking brilliant.
I missed that one. That's one maybe I'll
You
catch up on that one today.
Put that on your list for this week, dude.
Cool.
That's one of those dark comedies. All I'll say is it's about a guy who gets beat up, takes karate classes. It goes from white belt to orange belt, right?
Yeah.
That's about as long as he's in karate, and that's all the movie takes place. That's how quickly he's in karate. It's brilliant, dude. Jesse Eisenberg either really, really good or sucks.
I wonder how Jesse Eisenberg would I guess, measure up in a cage with 15 tigers, or at least even working for this guy.
Right.
I feel like this dude.
Let's
Let's
bring back.
Yeah, let's bring back to Joe Exotic. Because
Joe
how
Exotic.
could anybody work for a guy, first of all, that's named Joe Exotic without like thinking maybe there's something I should know up front before starting to work?
The other dude, the blonde.
Mm.
How do you not know you work for a cult? And that guy, dude, what was his name? That's terrible to bring that up and not know. But the guy that lived up north at the very end of the 7th episode, they said his ranch just got raided.
Yeah.
That dude, he was even more like $100 a week. You're doing it 24/7. But do you know who Rick Kirkham is?
No.
Rick is the guy that came in to do the reality show that ended up getting burned up.
Okay. I wasn't catching names in this. It was a lot of just wide-eyed what the fuckisms with most of it.
But that's where I think I want to know more, because he kind of let something go. You remember him saying that he had to film a reality TV show that showed this guy as being a competent zookeeper,
And he really regretted it.
Yeah, because how they could edit it and make it look that way. So when you have footage, how you can take it. So how much crazy was it really? Or did they edit it? Did they even edit this version to make him look better?
Yeah. Well, I'm looking through the pictures to try to find the guy, but it is insane, like how he made the deal with him where he could own all of the footage. He owned all the footage, even for his stupid stuff.
Studio.
I loved any time he like had to kind of go up against this guy to be like, no man, you're not getting a dime from anything I'm doing here. Or like, I own all of your footage. I don't even and I own you too. It's like, whoa.
He had to have burned it down himself, right? Joe Exotic burned down his own gator shack.
I don't know though. It could be Carol. That's the picture that I have up right now of Carol. Can we talk about this craziness that started? Because really, when it comes down to it, King Tiger exists purely out of. Have you seen Curb Your Enthusiasm this season?
Oh yeah.
It's a fucking spite store. Like, it's a spite lawsuit. They're spite lawsuiting each other.
David's brilliant.
It really is crazy how far down they both go to try to destroy each other, and how far-sighted like their initial goals were. Like, this lady, if her intentions were clear to like want to do like animal rescue,
She killed her husband, right?
I was getting to that, bro.
She fed it to a tiger, right?
Yeah, well, if they're gonna make a music video all about it, they certainly aren't saying she didn't. And then we've got like the guy when they were doing the reality show, and how much he kept going through and looping back the shot of him in that crown chair. He's like, I am the King Tiger.
You can see the drone. You can see the drone on the ground. I'm sorry, I don't like sharks, big cats like that. Bears, like I've had to do films with bears. A big horse, like big champion. Here, hold on to the reins of a big huge. No, like could kill you for no reason.
Seriously,
I have no interest to be around that kind of big animal. That no.
What is the
and
ratio of who's more wrong in this? You know what I mean?
You got his two lovers that admittedly aren't gay that are with him.
Yes.
But are being with him for the pot and meth.
And that's minute 2. Like,
Yeah, no,
they
like
really.
I'm just trying to put together like because if you had to explain it to someone, you couldn't just say it was about Joe Exotic because it wasn't, because there was all these side characters.
Totally.
The one with no teeth ended up getting the one girl pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Marrying the secretary. His
the
secretary that had
secretary,
worked with him the longest, actually.
and the young handsome one. Still, that scene, I don't. That one affected me. That one where it's on the
Joe Exotic
campaign.
a little bit, because I guess we're not doing a good job of
Sorry.
explaining him. Joe Exotic is essentially the most backwoods Cajun kind of like guy that just stumbled upon owning tons of tigers and being able to like have his own petting farm, start moving the tigers from state to state, doing illegal shit.
Schools to pets, petting at schools, where he was doing the magic tricks.
A complete narcissist of every sense of the word, like really to the point.
Magic from an 8-year-old.
Yeah,
remember
the royalty complex literally made him a king in this sense.
Joe Exotic. How would
he ran for president?
Do you have a nickname? Did you have a nickname?
I did, but it was from bullies, so I don't know. What nickname isn't? Well, I don't know. It would go Pat every once in a while. Pat would be the thing.
I was Jim Smooth.
You see, that's sexy. I'd go for that. That's like JB Smooth type stuff. That's cool.
But it was because
wait, what's your middle name?
What happened was a very embarrassing story, and all my brother could do was laugh at me for 20 minutes and say, "Smooth, you're so smooth," to where, flash forward 10 years later and your own mother's still calling you Smooth. I'm like, can we let that go?
But what is your middle name? Does it start with a B?
Christensen.
Ah, so close. Because if it was a B,
oh, that's another good
Adam Sandler.
Quick Adam Sandler story. My other brother, his name is Michael Dennis. We call him Mike D. Talking to him, this is our brother Mike D. Adam Sandler's like, yeah, I got a buddy named Mike D. Look at him like, no, that's the Mike D. That's just a Mike D.
Okay.
That's the Mike D. But yeah, Joe Exotic, to get that nickname and give it to yourself, you always have to worry about people to give themselves nicknames.
Seriously, though.
And then to go with Joe Exotic.
Well, to be a guy, like, I can't imagine, first of all, the urge to do it. I remember the urge to just, like, I need all of the animals, and I want them in cages, and I want tigers. Like, what was one of the people, I think it was his first boy, the one that has the tattoo of him all over him. He was like, I needed to fuel my animal. No, I was using drugs to fuel my animal addiction.
Dude,
I was like, that's totally backwards.
The whole series for 7 episodes, he's just sitting there with no shirt on.
I know, right? They were like, can you please just...
The dude would kill both of us.
Totally. Yep. I wonder if they were just like, let him. Just don't question the guy. But he was like, I was using my meth addiction to feed my animal addiction. It's like, that's backwards, first of all. Like, no, he was selling drugs to feed his animal addiction. That's the exact wording.
Can you imagine that's where you are in your life? You're like, here's your options. You're like, let's see, I can go to school, get an education, Walmart's hiring, or I can go smoke crystal meth and play with baby tigers.
Ugh. Oh, here's a shot of one of the boyfriends. This was the younger one, and we haven't really talked about how they all got together. Like,
because it's so unbelievable.
Because Joe Exotic, it was very much and this is what most manipulative people do. And I'm just gonna say it. Like, the guy is a gross dude. Like, there's nothing about this that makes me think that he's redeemable. Maybe some things he didn't do, but he's not a redeemable bro. But
even his music sucks.
Oh my god! But his music's amazing. Oh my god! I love his music so much.
I mean, that's the problem. Is you can't help. You can't, like, you go off on a tangent and, like, you almost have to have someone else help you on this one, because you're like, okay, pull it back. You're going off of the weeds. It's like, yeah, but I'm just took the whole music act that he did. He had his own country music act, and he recorded everything. All of him eating, always recording.
I wish I could put in an overlay of some country music, because I would totally just start imitating. He was just like,
"Here, kitty, kitty." That's
only kitty cat that'll
it's totally dubbed. It's obviously the he's put on the dub to make his voice sound somewhat decent.
Oh, it's so much dark. Yeah, it's so much.
It's the
deeper.
one song I remember, and it's the one where he's feeding meat to the impersonator.
Yes, because Joe has had a lot of enemies in this situation, and one of the enemies was someone that was at a tiger conservation group. She owned a tiger conservation
Who
place
started the same way they did.
and knew that he was doing the shipping, but had done the same thing. But it turned into just a rivalry of who can
nasty.
sue each other the most, and who had the most money ended up being the person that won in the end. But
The one that killed her husband and fed him to tigers and had...
And that's where the music video comes in, because she allegedly did murder her husband. And they have so much like circumstantial evidence about it. The case is kind of still open. Was that a case that was still open that they said?
Well, they officially
arson was
closed
open.
it. After 5 years, she had it closed, but the investigators said they never closed it. Something it was just so on stinking real. And she didn't seem remorseful at all. But then again, I'm not here to tell anyone what it's like when you lose a loved one like that. But she sure shafted his first family.
But then where Joe took it was even more crazy, because it's like if I went insane and then just started green screening everything. Yeah. And just like where he would bring in some like fucking fuck dolls with like dildos in their mouths, saying this is you, shooting the dolls in the head and being like, if you come here
with real live ammo.
How did he not know that this wouldn't come back to bite him in the ass hard? Because
I learned a lot about freedom of speech laws. Apparently, you can say all that stuff. That's not, and you can't hold you for any of that, because that you can say it. It's not until you do it.
Yeah.
Like, unreal. And that's just like, and I'm trying to think of, and that's just the original crew plus all the people that he would hire. Basically, they'd come in from the bus stop, and if they were there over till the next morning, they had nowhere to go. That's when he knew he could just show up to there's nowhere else for them to go. Well, I'll give you a place to stay at one of my cabins, and you can come work for me. And so he had all
give him expired meat.
The one dude that had no legs that liked to race cars.
And the Walmart discounts that they would have to give the Lions. He had a pizzeria that was open because we haven't even gotten it. Like, I think we're talking about the first half of
generation.
We're talking about the first half of the documentary, because it's not even like the second half gets even crazier than this.
So unbelievable. Yeah, then when the con artists start coming in, and the people that try to steal his zoo, that do steal his zoo.
Yeah, Jeff, whoever his name, straight up like having people monitor him and like just mess around, and how they tried to set up the hits on Carol, and there's so much to unravel in this thing. At first, I was talking about this yesterday, saying that like I hate some miniseries of documentaries that are like, we're gonna do 5 episodes, but really only one of them counts.
Yeah, it's way too long.
This one, at first I was like, this is gonna be that. But then each episode I was like, what the fuck? Kept happening every time. It was...
Well, then he starts running for office.
Yeah, it's like it keeps getting crazy. It's like where we're living now with Trump as president. Every time there's like, now he's doing this. This is insane.
But at the same time, that's why I love America, because I try not to tell anyone. You know what I mean?
That's why Joe Exotic loves America.
Dude, if you want to shoot heroin between your toes and you can function and it doesn't bother your neighbor, you know what I mean? You can every day, you just shoot smack all day, every day, and it doesn't affect anyone's like, well, that affects people. I'm like, well, if it doesn't, you didn't know he was shooting smack his whole life, then shoot your smack. If you want to take a rock, smack yourself in the head. You want to vote for Trump? I don't care. I don't care what religion you are. Vote for Joe Exotic for president. He took third place.
And he ran for governor after, because he said, I just can't wait another 4 years.
While embezzling from his own company. Which is what ended up getting him nabbed by the feds at the end, was his embezzlement from his own company.
You know what's amazing? On the cast list, he's the only one that's like has the credit before you have to click on see full cast. I wonder if he's like, please make sure that's the case. I like giving meat to
Well, there's
tigers.
part of me, because I've seen them cast shows like this, even though it's it's supposed to be, true story and all that stuff. They still script it. And that's why I'm a little bit hesitant when the Rick Kirkman, when he kind of started talking a little bit like, now be careful, because they can still play with some of that. Some of these characters they can, but none of these people came from central casting.
Totally.
Yeah, totally. These people, they lived that life. And the chick that got her arm chewed off and went back to work
because
7 days later.
Because deep down, like, and this is what it proved to be. I feel shitty because we're spoiling all this shit. But you still watch it. It's going to be just as crazy just watching what's happening.
See, and that's where, like, I've told you about my show, like, so I don't like to review new things because there's nothing to talk about. All we can do is tease and tease and tease. But this has been out for a while now. It's been out for a few weeks, and that's my kind of. If
this isn't The Mandalorian, so if you get pissed off that Joe Exotic
even now,
spoiled
Mandalorian,
for you,
second season's coming out. I think the first season should be wide open. I don't think anyone should episode 7 or episode 9 of Star Wars. I should be able to talk about it now.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't seen it by now, then shut up.
I think for the sake of America and for getting through this social distancing, we have to be able to talk about all the spoilers because what else is there to do?
Well, you saw my list of all the stuff I've been watching.
I did. You should name off a couple recommendations because I've been doing this for some of the fans out there, people that need recommendations that are stuck. Because you got like 20 movies up there, bro. I'm not going to have you list 20, but give me like the 3 that are like, check it out.
I watch things a little differently, and a lot of this stuff I've already seen before, but now I'll go back and I'll watch it for different reasons, or I found out a different story of what was cast for what, blah, blah. The whole reason why I went back and started watching the Enterprise versions of the Star Treks is just because there was a Facebook thing about saying that third act was the best of any of the Star Treks. So I was like, okay, let me go back and see what the heck they're talking about. I want to be... I'll go back and watch Aliens, Coven. I'll watch all of them, even if they're not good. I'll find something good in them. Alien 3 has some really great stuff. Old Dune has some really great stuff in it, and the movie, the director wanted to take his name off of it, and that's when who the whole Alan Smithy thing came from. If a director didn't want to take credit for his own film, you could use Alan Smithy, which I believe you can reshumble it and it says anonymous or something like that. You can't do that anymore. But what was it? David Lynch that did Dune. Tried to get his name taken off. Paul Thomas Anderson's first movie, Hard 8, he wanted it to be called Sydney.
Jeez.
And they finally settled on his cut, their name. And even at the time when I was talking, he was like, yeah, it's starting to finally kind of hit home, but it's not what I wanted. And they're taking those people's movies. What do you think they're going to do your movie? They're going to yank it. So I love movies, and I'll go back and I'll watch them, and I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. And so if I watch the first one, I might as well go through them. I mean, that's basically on background while I'm vacuuming. And then we just start getting into some of the other ones. Like, as a matter of fact, with Dune, the new director who just did Blade Runner, and before that,
Denis Villeneuve. Which, funny enough, if you take out a lot of his letters, we'll get Dune. If you
well, hopefully there's 2 of them, but technically we shouldn't have Dune because Blade Runner bombed for him, even though it won a bunch of awards. It didn't make money, and it shouldn't have given anybody else work because it made the company no money.
Well, was Dune the first Dune successful?
The first Dune was okay.
Because I don't think
really
that one is even. Because really, it shouldn't be made because it wasn't successful.
You ever read the book?
No, I've not. But
it's enormous. Holy crap! In little words, but it's but his Villeneuve, his filmography, you can actually see all of his non-French speaking films on either Hulu, Amazon, or Netflix right now. Prisoners. There's Enemy.
Arrival.
There's the one about the school shooting he did. But brilliant young new filmmaker, and people are like, French. I thought he was from Canada. Yeah, he's French Canadian. Just Ex Machina. Then I'll go all of a sudden, and I'll go, okay, so now Alex, I like what he's in. Alex Garland. He wrote 28 Days Later. He also wrote Dread with Carl Urban. So now I got to put that in the list as well, because if we're going to be talking about Alex, I'm going to want to be talking about his, and now Annihilation that no one talked about, and talk about an all-female cast, brilliant film that just completely got passed over. If you want to have a fun time
but who's to blame for that? I think that was the studio's fault because they flipped it right over to streaming too soon.
That's why I don't give a crap what the studios. That's why I don't care what critics say. Not everyone can be right. I'm not always right. I like what I like, but that's why I'll watch it. I'll watch movies that are terrible, and I'll go back later. It all started, the first movie I ever did on a podcast where we were trying to do this, the first inception of what the movie hour is now. We were doing it, and the first thing we ever did was called Gleaming the Cube.
Okay. Okay.
Old movie with Christian Slater.
Mm.
And Tony Hawk has like a cameo and stuff like that. And it was so old that we were able to use the theme song as our theme song for our podcast for the next 6 months and YouTube didn't snag us because nobody gave a crap about that song. And so that's just how my brain works. And so if I'm going to
condense it down, because you just gave everybody a shit ton again.
So but that's where we're at is now. So you got to go back to what you like. And so rather than just say I like these movies, stop and say, what did you like about them? Did you like Daniel Radcliffe? Did you like a different director in the we'll just talk about Harry Potter. Did you like Hermione Granger? Did you like what she did? Did you like the different directors? Because we have 4 different directors. David Yates, you could go, which of those directors? So rather than so what else did David Yates make? Right? He's done the Secret Beasts. Did you like those? What else has he written? Is he a producer? And so then you can start unfolding a lot about filmmaking. What else did they do before they got here? Like Alex Garland was writing 8 Days Later.
So I think I know what you're saying now. So what you're kind of recommending to people is not so much keep trying to like look for something different, but go back to the stuff that you love, figure out what you like about them. You're challenging some people to start critically thinking about film. I don't know about that, Jim.
Well, Ridley Scott, you like Alien, right?
Yeah.
Not so much Cameron's version. Okay, so now don't watch his hits. Go watch the ones that didn't do so well. Go watch Orlando Bloom. Go play King of the Titans and watch the ones that he's not so good in. Find an actor that you love and go watch a whole segment of his filmography. And you'll learn a lot more about that actor if you watch what they made. Like Keanu Reeves is popular right now, but you go back to 47 Ronin, which was just made. It was a huge flop just recently. It was on the same street. Nobody talks about that one. But I watched it 3 times. And so that's just how my brain works. And so there is no, I'm going to watch this next. It literally comes down to something will click. I want to watch, now that I just said Christian Slater, I haven't seen Christian Slater in a while. I'm going to go watch True Romance. I'm going to go watch, and that's just what starts happening. Dude. And then there's always something to watch.
I think that's a good plan. And I think a lot of audiences don't really look at it that way. But I don't know. Follow the rabbit hole, see where it takes you.
Yeah. And well, you have Hulu, you have Amazon, you have HBO, you have you have a camcorder. You go out and make something right now. Nobody's in the streets. Go make a movie.
I'm going to go against that one. Do not go out in the streets.
Why not?
Just because it's getting crazier.
Yeah, but don't be around people.
Don't get people's grandmas sick.
Don't be around other people, but you can be out in the streets.
But what happens when you need someone to hold the camera?
I do it myself, man.
I'm trying to find a way to selfie stick, damn it.
I'm trying to find a way to write, direct, shoot, and star in my own film on my iPhone in my spare time.
Nice.
That's what I'm trying to do.
That's super cool, dude. And really, thank you again for coming on and talking about this.
Yeah, sorry, that's a really confusing way of looking at it, but
it's not. I think it's a great way to look at it. Let me ask you this though: do you rate a TV series? If you were to rate this, what would you say for Tiger King? I keep calling it.
I have a hard time with TV series. I don't like sitcom television.
Yes.
I haven't watched sitcom television in a long time because there's a good friend of mine, Charlie Halford, was on one of these shows and he was really diving into it. And the producer says, "Hey, man, this is just filler for commercials." And I'm like, "This is his art." And the producer's telling him, "Dude, don't take it so seriously." So I don't CSI. I don't watch those shows, but I do like this kind of a show. The one about the dude that drew the penises that he was in trouble for. Which one was that one that just clicked in my head? Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. It was a mockumentary, but basically it was like a 4 or 5 episode.
Have you seen the clown documentary on Hulu? Well, what is it called? Happy. It's this guy that.
Yes, yeah. He's a miserable clown, and he shows up for birthday parties and
fucks with kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen Clown? Have you seen the movie Clown?
Just follow that. If you liked Joker, just start following the clown hole, people.
Just go down that rabbit hole.
Maybe let's not. I'll never call it the clown hole again. That sounds a little bad.
The clown hole. No, I'll find that. It's really good when it's one I'll suggest for a TV series. If you liked this one and you want to find something more like it, it isn't based on real story, but it could be. And for the longest time, you're like, is this real? But it's basically a kid who draws boners in classes all the time. Someone draws a boner on one of the cars, and they turn into this huge who drew the boner on the cars. And it's like, it's brilliant. And I can't remember what it is now.
It can't be any weirder than this. So I would say let's give that a shot. Well, I don't know. I don't think I have a rating for it.
I would suggest it. It does have bad language. I have to tell people that because my mother watches stuff. She doesn't care about anything, but you drop the F-bomb and my mom just cringes. She just folds.
Well,
she's watching Punch Drunk Love while they're talking about, Georgia peaches and blah, blah, blah. But, one F-bomb from her son, and she just, why do you have to say it?
Yeah. Well, Tiger King is on Netflix, guys. Go and watch that as well. I think it's definitely worth the 7 episodes.
And then post on your remarks, stuff we missed, because there's so much stuff. Like, that's what we can't get that on the movie hour enough. Like, I want people to post their own ideas. I talk my own ideas all the time. What did I miss? Make me go, oh shit. Go back and go.
Yep.
Because I love discussion. So thank you so much for having me on, because as you can see, I geek out. Now for the next 2 hours, I'm gonna be in my room. I'm just gonna be like, look at
Jim, where can the people find you? I know you've got a YouTube channel amongst many, many others, but do you have a hashtag, something on Twitter?
I gotta get better at. I gotta get better. That's one of the things that I'm trying to be better at. Like, for a while, I had 4 IMDb pages, and I would keep changing my professional name, and because I just didn't care. Like, I loved it. Directing, I did one thing. So you really can't find me very well right now. Now I'm realizing that it's probably a good idea. But I'm around. I pop in and out, and I'm going to just try to be better at that and try to find a way to, or if someone can help me with that, that's people helping people, man. I'll help you. You help me.
Nice.
Terrible self-publication and helping myself out. And I'm so wonderful.
Well, with quarantine, we all got to help each other out. And that about does it for this episode, everybody. Make sure to do all the shit. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. And we will see you at the next review.
Yeah.